Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Reset Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Munoz, CEO of the Cultural Communications Agency, D Flash. Each episode, I bring on a different business leader who's doing some amazing game changing work. And this episode, I am so delighted to have Kimberly Walker, who's the Senior Director of Visual Merchandising at Dick's Sporting Goods. So, we're going to talk about her unique role, what brought her to it, and her remarkable career journey. It's going to be a great conversation. Take a listen. Hey, Kimberly, how are you?
Hi, Laura. Thanks for having me. I'm excited about our conversation today.
Me too. And so I'm sure you've listened to the podcast. You know what the first question is because it never changes. So, Kimberly, what was your first job?
Laura, my first job was right out of college, actually, and I went into a retail management training program for Sears Holding Company, and went through that. God, I think it was 12 or 14 weeks, just learning kind of the basics of retail, trying to understanding how to run a store, all the components of that come into managing, building, um, specializing in apparel merchandising. And then from there, I was promoted into an apparel management role and did that role within different volumes of individual stores for about 10 years. So I think I started in a $2 million box, then went to a $4 million box, then a $6 million box, and so on and so forth. And then from there, I was promoted to a district manager's position. So I've been on this retail journey about, for a very long time. And it's been, just close to 44 years now.
Wow, it's interesting that like there's some folks who will come on a show and like their first job out of college basically set them up for the rest of their life, and there are people who like their first job out of college was like absolutely not. I'm never doing that ever again. I'll do something entirely different the rest of their life. So it's always fascinating to see the difference. And I it would be really cool to sort of kind of hear the story of like how you navigated being going from starting out management training program to now getting to Dick's Sporting Goods. Like, what's that road been like for you?
Well, I have to go back, for to the beginning, because in actually, every job that I've had within this retail landscape has certainly prepared me for where I am today. And I say that because I'm a believer that, you have, corporate sides of businesses, and then you have kind of what we would say the field side of the business. So for me, I started in the field. So I started, as a manager, moved through, into a district manager's position. And then from there, went into a corporate position. So, I think it's really important for individuals to realize that, when you have that span of knowledge and experience, it helps you in every step along the way. I understood what it meant to run a business. Being at ground level, and
Mm-hmm.
then moving into a corporate, I really started to understand from a communication perspective, what that looked like, and also from a strategic perspective, what that looked like. So, I after moving into corporate as a divisional sales manager, still with Sears Holding, went into a regional field position, um, focusing on visual merchandising. And then from there, a couple of years ago, I decided to make a change and join Dick's Sporting Goods, really to help build a field visual merchandising team that would drive consistent execution of our brand visual strategies, to really just create a differentiated athlete experience. So, My past has helped me understand how to manage people, how important it is to build a team and how to build a team. And I will have to tell you, those 30 years of management has really made me the leader that I am today.
Awesome. Because, it's rare to find, especially the women in business where like, no, I'm going to do this and I'm going to make my way up and I'm going to navigate those challenges. So I know that 30 years was not an easy one. So can you tell me about a time where you had a challenge? You're like, there's no way I'm getting through this. And then you did.
Well, there have been certainly many challenges, but I would have to say probably the one that sits with me right now is, the COVID challenge. Last year, we shut down. My team, just to tell you a little bit about what they do, they are out in the field. They're regionally based. They work hand in hand in conjunction with the district managers and regional vice presidents on development and training within our stores. So they're in stores working with our teammates one on one on elevation and merchandising tactics, along with several other things. But that's our job, is to be in stores. And so once we shut down, we furloughed some people, some individuals, sadly. And then, the ones that we did not furlough, I had to figure out, how do we still make a difference? How do we still remain viable out there in the industry, without being able to, maneuver in stores with associates. So, that was really, hard, and it really took me, going back to some previous days about how you develop and train. And so teams came in very handy. We pulled out some other, technology of vehicles to really sharpen their skill sets on, different things that we could do in moving back into the stores. We started to work on some additional training programs. But I certainly would tell you it certainly was a challenge, but we certainly made it through.
Awesome. Yeah, it's fascinating when you think about where we are right now, and we're at this sort of interesting intersection because like parts of the country are wildly open, other parts of the country are not. And I'm sure for you, as someone who's working in retail, you have to try and walk that fine balance. Like, how has that been for you as an organization? So, because obviously you want more people in the stores, but also you have to obviously be concerned for the safety, not just for your customers, but for your employees.
Well, I would say we navigated it. I am very, very proud of the way Dick's Sporting Goods navigated this whole, this opportunity here. As soon as shutdown happened, obviously we closed our stores, and then we immediately went into, how do we still get our athletes what they need? So, I think we should have, not should have, I think that we probably were the first retailer out there that did curbside pickup. So
Oh,
we
wow.
were able to really allow our athletes to still, get what they needed for their outdoor activities, um, and still visit our stores, but do it in a distancing way. We had a couple of stores that, in a state that, they were able to open before anyone else was able to open. So they were our test lab as to how we were going to open fully as a company, and what things we needed to put in place to do that safely for our athletes. We developed COVID protocols, from social distancing messages to putting up protection at our registers. So we ran the whole gamut, and we were certainly able to maneuver through this in a way that was very, very effective, and most importantly, protected our teammates and also our athletes visiting our stores.
Awesome. And so cool.
Thank you.
So it's interesting. So I have several ideas about what visual merchandising actually is, and I'd love if you would explain what it is, because I think it's a really unique, um, obviously part of advertising for stores, and I bet folks would love to learn like what actually is it and how do you sort of approach it,
Well,
especially when within Dick's.
we it's really it's kind of there's an art and a science to it.
Mm-hmm.
But, long and short, it really is about how our product within our stores come to life. So it's about product placement, how we elevate the space, meaning, how we merchandise our product within a particular area. It really is, it it takes a customer or an athlete on a journey. So, and it really is about storytelling and curated tables. So, you look at, for instance, let's just say we want to tell a story for someone who is, a fitness guru, and we want to bring a story together that will allow them to get their fitness outfits along with any fitness gear that they may need. That product may be merchandised together within, a particular area or within a particular footprint. And the way that we approach it at Dick's Sporting Goods is, understanding that who our athlete is and, how we want to lead that athlete through our paths within, like I said, within a journey. And then how we flex that space based on, the product we have and how that product sells. So it really is, there's an art to it, but it certainly is something that is teachable, and something that we are really, really proud of here at Dick. So, okay, yeah. So a product placement and customer journey, and then really how we outfit, and how we put, product together for outfitting. So it allows the customer to see ideas, and we make certainly it makes suggestions for our athletes of things that we would want them how to pair things together. So it really is how the whole story comes together, from color threading, throughout a particular pad, um, to mannequin clusters that, like I said, give suggestions. And then also just from an adjacency perspective and how our product actually flows through departments.
Yeah, so like when I go and I want to get buy a pair of gloves, the hand warmers are right there. And then
Exactly.
and then
Uh-huh.
when I'm about to buy something else, there's something else I should be buying because yep, that's what I want. So, it comes in really handy because it takes I really love the way that you explain that because as a storyteller, um, it's really cool to see how you all kind of build these little customer stories within different parts of the store that kind of get folks to want to pay attention. And then I kind of think back on like, yeah, I walk into the store and I'm like, oh, I think I want to like get some stuff to do some running. And then obviously you go the shorts and such, but it's all the sort of peripheral things around it that like, well, maybe I want to go do this as well.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Uh-huh.
and so it is very much an art and science to it, which is fascinating. So what made you decide to, after being at Sears for so long, to make the switch to Dick's? As someone who grew up on Long Island in suburbia, obviously Sears was like part of my life for almost my entire childhood. I think we bought everything for our house from Sears. But then when I was a teenager, I remember that like anytime I needed something to do any kind of sports, it was about going to Dick's. So both brands, as someone who grew up in, you know, the kind of mall culture like that, it worked for me in terms of those two stores. But like for you, you know, obviously on the corporate side, like what made you decide that like Dick's was a good next step for you?
Well, two things. The first was, it's certainly no secret that, over the last, um, 10, I don't know, 10, 8+ years that, that industry and Sears had started to go through some difficult times. Um, and then also, for me, I was looking for, a change. I was looking for something different. And here is where, networking, mentorship, understanding how people see you, making connections, collaboration, and partnerships come in. I ran into someone that I worked for in a previous role who had left the company and um, knew of a role that, knew that here at Dick's Sporting Goods that they were thinking about developing this team. And he thought I would be wonderful for it. So, he put me in contact with the individual who's my supervisor today, and then the story goes from there. But I can tell you that it was something that I knew I needed to do. But after being at a company for so long, it's sometimes very scary.
Right.
Um, but I made the leap because I knew it was the right thing for me. But when I tell you it was the best decision that I made for me personally and from a career perspective, um, that I never looked back. Never looked back. I came aboard as a director and really just kind of started to develop our field visual merchandising program. We went from 2 individuals out in the field to a total of 16
Wow.
that are regionally based. Um, we also, you know, um, piloted a program where we put dedicated individuals into some of our highest volume stores. So, we took a team that really didn't exist to a team that is close to 35 individuals now out there making a huge difference within our stores, and also, really making human connections and, you know, being an advocate for our people. So it's been great. It's been great.
So, you know what's interesting? You know, you talked about the fact that it was a man who you'd worked for previously who
Mhm,
essentially was the connection, and I think that
mhm.
oftentimes we talk so much about, you know, women building networks with other women, and it's great. But I always say is that like it's about the horizontal networking and it's knowing everyone, because it's not just about the women that you work with, it's also about the men that you work with. Because you know, folks will see different opportunities, but if they are connecting with you and you're building those longer, deeper relationships, those are the ones that are going to push you forward.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I certainly believe that, it is really, it's extremely important to really pretty much be yourself, right? But also within that, create as many relationships as you can. And it goes both ways, whether it's, mentoring people or, having people, having mentorships. I am one that, I didn't get here on my own. I had several people along the way that coached me, um, gave me some really hard feedback at times, but also embraced me. And I always tell, the individuals that I mentor, I always, express this to my team. always understand how people see you. You know, how do you
Mm-hmm.
show up on a daily basis? Do you understand what, if someone asks you about, hey, how's that Kim Walker? Do you know what they're going to say? And if you're not comfortable with that, or if you really don't know, then, it really is important to understand that, because, it, for me, the relationships that you build and the partnerships that you build are the things that really sustain us. You have this business piece, but you also have the piece of just being nice and kind and being human.
Oh, what a
And
concept! What a concept!
showing people that you care. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
And
mean, I'm always amazed by I'm like Laura, how do you know all these people? I was like, because I'm nice to people. Like I'm genuinely curious. Like, I mean, that's how we got connected. Like, this awesome friend of mine and was like, hey, you should talk to Kim because she's great. And I'm like, oh, absolutely. I was like, I wish I'd known. We connected in February because you would have been part of my 29 Days of Magic series where I, interviewed a Black woman a day for Black History Month. And that's the thing. It's like you just want to tell cool stories. You want to connect with other folks and just learn from people who, are up and down the spectrums of things. It's not always with people who are exactly your peers, but folks from just different walks of life. And that genuine niceness and curiosity just goes so much further,
it,
uh, and will put you in places and opportunities that you would have never imagined.
And you're absolutely right, Laura. And the other thing I would say about that is just like leading with empathy,
Thank you.
understanding that people come with a lot of things, and you certainly need to meet them where they are, and just being, just understanding that we're not curing cancer here, right? We are, what we do it with love, we do it with joy, we have fun doing it. But, taking the time to help someone understand and learn, and reaching back and helping them, develop and pull them forward. There's so many people and so many individuals who have done that for me. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about what we do today, because a lot of that is kind of how we operate out there. But it truly is, it's life changing when you can connect with people and you can connect with teammates. It really makes a difference in what they're doing, and how they show up.
It's just the common courtesy of behavior, and like so many things you just said that, like, yeah, leading with empathy is not that difficult. I am always amazed when folks say, like, well, how do you lead with empathy? I was like, can you think about what it might be like for somebody else for 2 seconds and like take yourself out of it, like it's not always your show, because if you can do that, you can lead with empathy. That's
Yeah.
difficult.
Yep. And the other thing that I've learned is, and this is, obviously here, as you're talking about 30 plus years here, and I certainly didn't start off this way, but servant leadership,
Hmm.
just offering yourself to be available and offering yourself to help in any way, whether it's within your responsibility, or whether it's outside of your scope. But just being someone who is willing to step out, and have the courage, to um, step out if there's something that you may not be sure of, or you may not know, or you may not have all the answers to, and admitting to that, but saying I'm here, and we can do this together, and we'll figure it out together. So
You're you're swinging to the choir. So, it's interesting. One of the things I noticed about Dick's is that the leadership is mostly women. And
nice.
so, and I was like, I had no idea. Because obviously, you think sporting goods, you think men. I mean, I grew up in suburbia, as I said, so I knew Dick's Sporting Goods and Modell's. Like those were sporting goods stores, and I knew because I live in New York, we all knew the Modell family. Um, all dudes. And it's been fascinating to watch some of the moves that Dick's has made over the last few years, because you can tell women are running things over there.
We do. We have an awesome set of women leaders within our company, and we have some good men too. But I certainly, hopefully, you've seen our Women's of Dix campaign, and
Mhm.
it's a campaign it features women of Dix in leadership roles who are truly driving change in the industry towards maintaining and investing in women and girls out in society. We know that sports, make people better, because it builds self confidence. It builds teammanship. It teaches you how to lead. And we just are committed to ensuring that we, give more access to girls, so that they can pay for that forward in life. And all girls, and women should have the same opportunity that a man or a little boy should have. And we just, we want to certainly make sure that we represent that, and that that our communities that we serve, that they see it. You certainly can't be it if you can't see it, right?
Well, that's the thing about, and what's one of the reasons why I was so excited to have you on the show, because I don't think I've ever seen a Black woman in visual merchandising before. Because I started my career out in fashion, and I was
Mhm.
like, wait, and then I was like, wait, she was a CS for how long? Hold on, um, because
Yeah.
I know that wasn't easy.
No, no, it hasn't been. And and I will tell you in the space that, it hasn't been easy, but I was raised, to always, regardless of the circumstance, always do your best, always kind of show up. And then, if you don't succeed, God darn it, next day, get up and try it again. But you do it with grace, you do it,
Hmm.
very humbly, and you give it all you got. And so, understanding that, and growing into the person that I am today, you can tell I'm pretty lively, um, you know, um, and certainly um, have some self-conscious things, but you don't necessarily, you wouldn't know that. But I certainly think that it is about how you come to market, and how what you believe in, honestly. And I believe in helping people and being kind, and being a support. And I think that showed up through my career, within everything that, in every position that I've had.
It's interesting, and it's just so true. And that's why I was so happy to have you come join, because I wanted you to say that, because I think sometimes the thought process is that, like, you sort of have to contort yourself into some sort of weird, unusual thing that's not really you in order to be successful, or you have to
Hmm.
be, there's one certain way you have to be in terms of being a successful person in business. And there's so many shades of red, instead of shades of black and white. There's so many shades of red, and embrace the one that works for you. Similarly, I mean, like I said, very similar. It's like I have just always walked in rooms like, okay, hey, I'll be nice to folks, and learn and listen. Like, the best piece of advice I ever got was, just listen, because you will learn more just by really listening to people and what they're actually saying, that next level. And when you do that, you can lead with empathy, because, like, you can really hear what people are saying to you and how they're saying it,
Hmm.
and that's how you navigate all of this. And that's the key for success, for folks to understand that like that art of listening is so paramount, because you'll learn from folks in a way that is really impactful and makes you stop and think, and then you can respond in ways that make sense. And but we all know that's some folks, that's a challenge.
Yeah, it is, and I couldn't have said it better. And when you talk about just listening and being present, um, in the conversation, not just listening to hear, but listening to understand. And with that, just educating yourselves, because when you do listen, you're certainly going to learn and educate yourself and understand things that you may not have known, or you may look at things in a different way. I think about, after joining Dick's Sporting Goods and being here about a year, I came and, I'm towards probably the latter part of my career. And I'm just, I came as a director, wanting to make a difference, wanting to make a change, but never really thinking about kind of what that next position or what that would look like for me. I just wanted to do a good job and move forward with some of the initiatives that I have been, challenged with. And, my boss calls me in the office one day and she's like, "Hey, I have recommended you. I want you to be a part of our I&D council. What you have represented here the last year or so of being a part of this company has been pretty remarkable. You've, earned respect. People admire you. You certainly have, made a difference. And, we certainly would like for you to join this council and be a part of, how we shape our I&D vision and strategy as we move forward with the company." I tears started swelling up in my eyes because I was so
Wow.
honored, and I was so thankful, because that's not necessarily what I didn't know that, people were looking at me in that way, or, people felt that way about me. But, that's how I know that if you have it in your heart and you have the right things, you're focusing on the right things, good things will come and people will
Exactly.
notice. Hmm.
That's, I mean, that's the key here. It's just like, good things end up coming. So if you're on the R&D council, the last year has been interesting. I- to
Yes. Yes.
um and we are essentially a year later. um how's that been for you all as a company and in response to everything? Because obviously there was a reckoning and awakening, in a way that was unique because of it was the timing of when it happened, and then the response and the you can't look away anymore. And so how do we put one foot in front of the other to make some positive changes? How's that been for you over at Dick's?
Oh, it has been, and I don't say this because I'm a part of the process. I say it because it's the truth. Obviously, we've like a lot of corporations, we've had, our opportunities. And when you kind of look at our landscape, we probably are not as diverse from a people perspective as we could have been. But one of the things that was very, very clear from our chairman Eric Stack is that we are going to stand for racial injustice out there, and we're going to make sure that we make a difference within the things that we do within our company, within the communities that we serve and also for our teammates. So, the one of the first things we did was, we really established how we wanted to move forward and what we wanted to stand for. So, whether it be a place where we respect differences, and we set standards for treating teammates and, our athletes with respect, and also how we just become better humans. And so through that, we started to develop strategies out there that would kind of help us as a company foster education within, ourselves, our teammates, and our communities. So we took all our leaders through inclusive leadership sessions. We also took all teammates just this past year um, through inclusion sessions where we created a safe space to have some really, really tough conversations, non-judgmental, and just speak about their experiences and how they're feeling, and just to kind of understand that we're all in this together. Those sessions were really life changing for a lot of individuals who really weren't thinking about it in certain ways. We developed the inclusion and diversity calendar that focuses on moments out there. So the celebration of Black History Month. We are going to kick off June 1st a Pride celebration where we're doing featuring individuals. We're also highlighting product within our stores. We have started to invest out there into the community. We've invested a couple of $1 million in the Black Economic Development Fund. And then we've also started to look at how we hire and develop um, our, um, our teammates within our organization. And we want to make sure that we better reflect our communities. And in order to do that, we've certainly reached out and established direct relationships with the SBCUs. We've also, developed diversity panel series. We had one with our African American leaders. We had one that was focused on women leaders. And these are, a panel series that are broadcasted across the company that people can join. And then, we've started looking at like career pathing of our, of our teammates within our organization. And then also reaching out to our field and being very deliberate about, you know, seeking individuals who are interested in corporate positions and, giving them, the opportunity to come to come to the CSC within internships and different other vehicles. So we're committed to it. Ed and Lauren are committed to it, and we feel that we certainly are moving forward in a good way.
Wow. A comprehensive plan that doesn't require brain surgery. What is that? Like, that, and that's, and honestly, that's so lovely to hear, because I think it's just an example of what it isn't so scary, and
No,
that you really just have to just start doing the work. And as I always say whenever I speak about this on panels, it's like, make sure your house isn't on fire before you talk about your neighbors. So
yes,
what can you do internally to make sure that your employees are feeling good and reflect what the values of this company? And if there are things that need to change, you make those investments to make a change. But then also you go beyond the check. Like, we always say that, like, how can you make a meaningful impact within within your communities with which that you stand? And oftentimes it is like, how can you pour into the economy. So I think that, donating into an economic funds are just exactly it. Nothing is required to reinvent a wheel to help make this world a more equitable space. And when folks just take the time to really look at the things that they do, the communities that they serve, there is so much impact that you can make, and really simple ways that don't require a 5-year plan, don't require lots of studies. Like,
Yep.
it's just,
Yep.
you already do this. You're already in the location. So like, okay, how do we hire more people?
Yeah.
How do
Yeah.
we career path people? Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, we're
Mm-hmm.
already going to do that. We're
Yep.
always going to career path people. We're always going to hire people. So now we're just looking at it through a more bespoke lens. And that's how you get started. And
Yes.
that's awesome to hear. One of the things that I saw, that how Dick's like responds to something whereby a wrong's happening and then you make it right, was what happened with the NCAAs, with the women's teams.
Yep.
And I was like, really? Because I saw that tweet early, and I don't think I was on the early one started retweeting, like, are you out of your mind? How could they do this?
Wasn't that sad? It's like,
Well,
really?
as an athlete, I mean, like, I was an
Yes.
athlete when I was in high school, and then, well, junior high school and high school, and then like I fell off. But like, always had something to do with sports. But I always, still love basketball because I've played forever. And I'm just like, do you not realize that women spend lots of money on sports? Like, if you just would talk to us more intelligently. So the NCAAs is a simple example. Like, if you actually give us what we need, yeah, like, these ratings will go up. But you treat the women's NCAA like they're like a stepchild. Like, what's wrong with y'all?
Yes. Yeah. It's unfortunately, it's no different. And that's why this whole Women's of Dix campaign was so important, to showing, just showing your representation of, what's possible. I look at the NFL, because I'm an avid sports fan. I say particularly football, and I look at how long it really took for women to be accepted into coaching positions within professional sports. It's happened, but it took far too long. I certainly believe that the path that we're on to give girls access, to give women access, and for them to see that it can be done is just important, for us to kind of drive and um, change that trajectory out there. And it's starting, but we have so much more work to do out there within sports and within women leadership.
It's just mind-boggling. It's like, I love sports. I have two older brothers, and
Mhm.
I'm just like, this is crazy. I mean, I'm really fascinated. I love what Alexis Ohanian has been doing with Angel City, and calling this out, because it's like, there's money to be made. I mean, when they're showing how all the women from the NCAAs had, the most amazing hair, edges laid, and makeup that didn't come off, even though they were playing for like 40 minutes, and you're like, hello, beauty brands, hello, like, y'all see what's here? Um, so it just needs for folks to get a clue, and treat women with respect when it comes to sports. It'll be fascinating to see how the Olympics all shakes out this year.
Yeah, it will be. It will. It certainly will be. Uh, yeah, I'm not quite sure how that's going to end, quite frankly.
Fingers crossed for something good.
Yeah.
Uh, so, question for you about you, Miss Kimberly.
Hmm.
What do you do for your self care?
Um, I, I I do a few things. The one thing that from a physical perspective, I love to walk. So I try to get a couple of miles in a day. within that, what keeps me charged is I love music, right? So,
Hmm.
I think music is, it's food for the soul. So, I can put my earbuds in and, just walk and reflect. It's soothing for me. It certainly is something that allows me to reflect and also just kind of get back in touch with myself. So that's certainly one thing. The other thing that I do, and I've been doing it since I was growing up, is I'm a person who I like relaxation. So I'll get into the bathtub and I'll sit for, people will be like, oh my God, really? You sit in the bathtub for an hour? Yeah, I'll light some candles. I'll, put on, whether it's some jazz or something that I want to listen to at that time. And I'll just, I'll sit there and I'll reflect and meditate. So that's another thing that I do. And then the other thing from a care perspective, and this is for me. I'm somewhat of a people person, so I certainly, I'd like to spend meaningful and significant time with the people who are important to me. So those three things are pretty much how I take care of myself.
And all of them put yourself first, which is the most
Yeah.
important thing. It's
Yep.
like you can't take care of anybody else if you're not feeling great. So,
Nope. You
I
certainly
and
can't.
fantastic. And then the last question for you: do you have a give and or an ask of the audience?
Um, yeah, I do. I am if there was one thing that I could ask the audience, it would be um to um to be kind, to reach out and really try to help individuals who may be less fortunate than you, that may not have the same education that you have, um, but to try to empower others, um, so that they are able to understand that anything is possible, and they can be anything that they set their mind to be, and help them, mentor somebody, pour in that knowledge that you may have into someone who certainly can benefit from it. And always be there, um, to to lift someone up, and give back. And that would be my message, quite frankly.
That is a beautiful message. I
Thank
think
you.
that, I mean, you couldn't have said it better. I mean, oh, Kimberly, you're just wonderful. um, and it's just a beautiful message, and I think hammering that home repeatedly is really important for folks.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
thank you for sharing that, and thank you for being on the podcast. I mean, oh my goodness, I could keep chatting you for quite some time, and we now have to meet in person because COVID's opening up.
Well, we do. And I thank you for having me, Laura. This has been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. And so we'll put all the details in the show notes for folks to get in contact with you, and obviously check out Dick's Sporting Goods. And all the really phenomenal work that you're doing is just so incredible. And I'm so honored that you were able to join us on the show today. So
Oh, well,
thanks so
thank you.
much. And
Hey, have a
that,
great holiday.
you too. And that is our show.